What's going on, everybody? We've got a really strong WNBA board here, and this is the kind of slate where recent form, rest, and matchup control matter just as much as raw record. You've got one game shaped by momentum and a hangover angle, and another one that looks like a classic bounce-back spot for the home favorite. That gives us a very clean setup to break down. So let's get straight into it and keep the focus on what each team has done, how they've been playing, and where the edges are showing up. First up, Minnesota against New York. This is a huge matchup, and Minnesota comes into it with real momentum. They've won 5 of their last 6 games, they're sitting at 13-4, and they've now moved into favorite status on the board. That kind of form is hard to ignore, especially when it comes with a rest advantage as well. Minnesota has not played since Sunday, while New York had to deal with the emotional and physical toll of the Commissioner's Cup on Tuesday. That rest edge matters, and the Commissioner's Cup angle matters even more. Since the Cup began, the winner has gone on to lose its next game 4 out of 5 times. That is a strong pattern, and it lines up perfectly with the spot New York is in here. They've also lost 4 of their last 6 overall, so this is not a team trending in the right direction at the moment. Minnesota, on the other hand, looks like the better team in nearly every key area. They've been strong all over the floor, from the paint to the mid-range to the perimeter. Defensively, they have also been much harder to break down. That gives them the cleaner profile, and in a game like this that matters a lot. What really stands out is how well Minnesota matches up across the board. They have advantages in the restricted area, they're strong in the mid-range, and they're also doing well at defending the same spaces where New York usually wants to create. Even the areas where New York has been decent do not overwhelm Minnesota's defensive profile. That tells you the Lynx are not just better in form, they're better structurally too. So my best pick is Minnesota spot all day. I already like them on the money line, and the move from 1.5 to 2.5 only reinforces that. The value still points toward the Lynx, and I would expect more movement in their direction as the market adjusts to the rest edge and the Commissioner's Cup hangover. On the total, I lean under 173.5. If Minnesota controls the game the way they can, this has the look of a match where New York struggles to score consistently and Minnesota pulls away late. A double-digit win would not surprise me at all. Now to Chicago against Las Vegas. This is a very different kind of game because it feels like a strong bounce-back opportunity for the Aces. They come in at 12-5. And they're returning home after missing out on the Commissioner's Cup prize. That loss matters from a momentum standpoint, because this is exactly the kind of spot where a good team usually comes out focused and angry. Chicago, meanwhile, is still trying to find stability. They're 4-12, and the season has been uneven from the start. They've had a lot of trouble putting together a real identity, and that has been the story for much of their year. This is not a spot that screams turnaround. The Aces have the more complete profile here. They dominate the paint, they dominate the glass, and they still bring enough perimeter threat to stretch Chicago if the defense starts collapsing too much inside. That is important because Chicago has actually been decent on the perimeter defensively, but Las Vegas has already shown it can make that irrelevant by attacking in different ways. The trends around the Commissioner's Cup also help the case for Las Vegas. The team that loses that game often comes back strong in the next one, and the Aces are exactly the type of team you expect to respond well after a disappointing finish. Add in the fact that this is at home, and the spot gets even stronger. The one major swing factor is health, but if the expectation is that the Aces have their full force available, then this becomes a very attractive side. In that case, I would lean heavily toward Las Vegas. I would not be interested in Chicago in this spot at all. The total is high at 182.5, so I'm not rushing to the window there. Chicago wants pace, and Vegas can score, but that number is big enough that I would rather stay away than force it. If anything, it leans a little toward the over, but not enough for me to make it a main play. The prop that stands out most here is Nalissa Smith under 12.5 points. That number fits the matchup well because Chicago has been strong defensively in the paint and around the rim. They've been one of the better teams in those zones, which matters because that is where most of her scoring usually comes from. The season-long numbers already point toward value on the under, and the recent form makes it even better. The head-to-head trend is also helpful. She has not been clearing this number consistently against Chicago, and the most recent matchup landed well below it. That gives this prop a strong base from both a season-long and matchup-specific angle. If you want to get a little more aggressive, the points and rebounds under also has a case, but the points under is the cleaner look. Chicago's interior defense gives this one a real path to cashing. What stands out across these two games is that the teams with the clearer identity are the ones that look more trustworthy. Minnesota has momentum, rest, and the better balance on both ends. Las Vegas has the stronger overall profile and a perfect spot to respond after a tough cup loss. Chicago and New York can both make things interesting in stretches, but they are also the teams that have more questions right now. That is what makes a slate like this so useful from a betting standpoint. You do not need to force things if the structure is already pointing in one direction. Minnesota looks ready to take advantage of the situational edge. Las Vegas looks ready to bounce back at home. And in both cases, the stronger team has the cleaner reason to trust them. The strongest theme today is that the teams with the better form and the cleaner structure are the ones that stand out most. Minnesota comes in with the more stable recent run, the rest advantage, and the added benefit of a clear situational edge after the Commissioner's Cup. That kind of setup usually matters in a game like this because fresh legs, rhythm, and confidence can all stack together at the same time. Las Vegas is in a similar type of spot in the sense that the reaction factor is strong. A tough cup loss can either flatten a team or wake it up, and this looks more like the kind of game where the Aces should respond with purpose at home. When a good team gets that kind of reset in front of its own crowd, it often brings out a sharper version of itself. That makes them a very live side even if the market is still weighing the disappointment from the last result. Chicago and New York both have ways to stay in the game, but both sides are also dealing with more uncertainty than the two favorites. That is what makes the Lynx and the Aces stand out most. They are not just coming in with better records, they are coming in with the kind of form and structural balance that usually travels well in this kind of spot. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with somebody who's betting these games tonight. It really helps the channel grow, and it makes a huge difference in helping me keep these daily picks and breakdowns coming for you. I appreciate every bit of support, and it means a lot to keep building this with you all. I'll be back with more picks, more breakdowns, and more value in the next one, so make sure you stay tuned. Catch you in the next video.